exhibition halls are usually themed, and they will tell a different story. So, for instance, Making of the Modern World, which is the gallery that on the ground floor dominated by some of our huge objects, including the Apollo 10 mission capsule, is a chronological sort of walk through technological achievements, which most people can sort of grasp. But other galleries aren't designed like that at all. They'll hit you with themes and ideas and art pieces or strange objects to give you a real immersive feel about the subject rather than a more kind of didactic or traditional approach, I suppose. So the answer is it's a very mixed, and also you can't do it in a day, you can't do it in a week. You have to really choose when you want to come, and come, I would say, quite frequently to get to know the place and to get to know the collection.
You briefly mentioned art just then. I wouldn't have expected you to have an art gallery.
No, it didn't used to have that crossover at all, really. But the more modern approach to science education, and certainly informal science education, is to think about presenting things from a different point of view. If science is only presented by one way, it usually appeals then just to one type of an audience. So by using artists and by using projection, sculpture, we even have a tour where people dress as cockroaches and walk around, which sounds like I'm making it up, but it is actually true. On the website you can see that, but that is to give another perspective on things like climate change or on some of the big questions of today. So we mix all of those approaches. And the art gallery I think you're referring to is a photographic space, which is part of our sister museum in Bradford, the National Media Museum, which houses the photographic collection, and we show exhibitions from there as well. So as a museum, lots and lots of demands from different types of visitors, but also huge collection, and we've got to choose what to put on. So it's quite a difficult decision at times.
This is Seclo Sounds, and you can listen to us by clicking Listen Live on our homepage at seclosounds.org for a choice of players. Via TuneIn Radio at www.tunein.com, search for Seclo Sounds and listen online or download the TuneIn app. You can download the Seclo Sounds iPhone app from the iTunes App Store, and you can listen to us on demand at our replay page.
You can contact me at john.guinn@seclosounds.org.
This is Seclo Sounds. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for 1 hour in the company of Harry and Edna on the Wireless, exploring all aspects of the vintage scene and playing tip-top gramophone tunes. Harry and Edna on the Wireless, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on seclosounds.org. Jolly good.
Sound the big thing now.
Hi, blessings to each and every one of you. Join me, Darren Hoy, with the Reggae Takeover Show for 2 hours of the finest reggae vibes, each and every Wednesday, 9 through to 11 p.m, here on Seclo Sounds. Don't miss out on your weekly Sunshine Fix, featuring roots, rude boy, dub, lovers rock, ska, one drop, and much, much more. So go on, give your sound system a treat. Join me, wind down low, and skank your night away. One love. That's Wednesdays, 9 through to 11 p.m, live on Seclo Sounds.
It's a top, my selector.
You can make comments about the show at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. Still to come, travel news, and one of the stories is about the Heathrow or Gatwick debacle that's been going on for a year or so now, and that the election may mean yet another delay to find out who is going to have the increased capacity. Is it going to be Heathrow? Is it going to be Gatwick? But that's travel news in a while. So I'm still speaking to Anthony Richards, the learning manager from the Science Museum. We're now going to find out who makes the decisions about what goes on show, because they've got an awful lot of stuff. So somebody has to make a decision. Is it somebody or is it a group of people? Let's find out.
Is the decision made by one person, or is it
No,
a few of you?
no, not by one person, by a lot of different things. So it might be the senior board, it might be due to what's happening in the country at the moment. So for instance, one of our big exhibitions coming up is about cosmonauts, the Russian space program, which have never been on shown in Britain before, and we've been working to get that here for a little while. And that really is to try and balance the story of the space race with the American side and the Russian side, and to try and get across to kids that it isn't just about NASA, it's about Russian space adventure as well. And Tim Peake, who's the astronaut who's going up next year, will be going up in a Russian rocket to the space station. So things like that, they come in because they're contemporary or they're in the news, and other times it'll be about stuff that's in storage that hasn't been on show for a while. So there's a whole load of people that make those decisions, but the public can influence that by talking to us and feeding back to us, and certainly there's a movement now in lots of our new exhibitions to have the public contribute to the exhibition. So it's what we call co-curation or participation, where they actually tell some of the stories within the exhibition. And I know that's happening for our new gallery upstairs, which is going to be called the Information Age, which is the rise of telecommunications. So it'll be the history of it, but also how it's reflected on people and how that story is told. So that's going to be the biggest gallery that we've opened for many, many years.
It's my background, so I'll have to come out and look.
There you go, yeah. It's sometime in the autumn. I think we're looking for someone to open it at the moment. But I've been involved with it for the last few years, and some of the objects and some of the stories are going to be beautifully told. So I think, for instance, you probably know from your background, many years ago, when you rang the operator, you got through to a switchboard which was almost exclusively sort of staffed by women who would put you through to whoever. So we've got a drama character, and the Enfield Exchange, which was the original one of those as well, on the show to communicate to people how telephones used to work. But that will be brought to life with a drama character who will be in situ playing a role of one of those telephonists or exchange operators. So yeah, come and see that.
Will you be covering party lines? Because I remember our first phone being shared with next door.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We're out in the sticks, and
yeah.
it was between the two of us.
So you had one line for two houses?
Yeah.
What, if you don't mind me asking, when was that?
That was the early 70s.
The early 70s, yeah, it probably will be. And I know that the rise and sort of expansion of telephones is definitely being told, and people know the recent history of that with mobiles and GPS and all of that, but it's the bits, previously sort of 40s, 50s, 60s, which I think is fascinating. So yeah.
Just show my age now.
Party lines. The other thing that used to happen on those things was the curator was chatting to me the other day, and I remember my mum was telling me this, that you'd ring the operator, and if they couldn't get through, to Mrs. Miggins, they'd say, "Oh, well, let me try the baker shop. I think she goes there on a Tuesday." There was really that much level of detail where people were. So yes, different type of GPS, perhaps.
Yeah, it's quite different. So, if I start an online petition, I could get the lawnmowers moved from stores.
I don't think you'd need a petition. You could talk to the curator and go and see them. But no, definitely, a museum these days, one as big as this one, listens to its audience a lot. Yeah, that doesn't mean to say that we put on or are dictated by the audience, but you're aware of what people are talking about. Otherwise, you wouldn't be hitting interests and what's on the zeitgeist, really. So you've got to be on the pulse.
What's new for this year, and how long ago did you start planning?
Oh, yes, a good question. Yeah, Cosmonauts has been planned for a few years. Information Age, I think, probably 4 or 5 years. Because obviously these days you've got to raise the money, you've got to dismantle a previous exhibition. So Information Age is going to go into the second floor, which was dominated by the Shipping Gallery, which has been there since the 1950s, 1960s. It's an enormous area. And also, what's another thing nice about working in a museum is that you get to watch that being dismantled and taken out, because that hadn't moved for decades, and some of the objects in there were huge and also very awkward. And it gives the movers, if you've ever moved house, it's nothing to taking half a ship out of a museum that doesn't have a back door. So it does take a long time to do all those type of things and to plan it on a project. But then they've got to be stored somewhere, they've got to be conserved, they've got to be looked after, let alone before you then refurb the space, get the designers in and think about putting the new exhibition in. So a lot of that's been going on in the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So there's a rolling programme, basically, which is usually called master planning within museums, which changes the face of the museum but also brings in new objects so that it's refreshed.
I don't have the patience for long-term projects like that.
I don't either. I work in operations, which means my work is almost always the next day. So planning events, doing special events, looking after schools, looking after the public on our late night openings, all of those things that are much more immediate. And I worked on a project once, which was a 3-year one, and it was for Launchpad, our sort of main children's gallery. And yeah, that's not my expertise. It's a long-term project. It's too far away.
It is.
Too far away.
There's so much here. You said 20,000.
Yes.
How long?
Bits. Yeah, that's right. Bits. They're called. Yeah.
Sorry, it's the technician in me coming out. How long will it take to experience everything that's on display at the moment?
Yeah, sometimes people ask us that at the front when you're helping out downstairs, and there is no answer to that without making them cry. I mean, I've worked here for 25 years, and I don't think I've seen everything in this place. You'd have to do it very, very carefully and systematically. But yeah, it would take weeks. Even the top 2 floors are the Wellcome collection of History of Medicine. And the amount of objects in there is astonishing, and that's a museum in itself, let alone just the top 4 and 5 floors. And you've got to remember sometimes that some objects are tiny. So in James Watt's workshop, there are needles and bodkins and hundreds of things in drawers that were taken direct from his workshop in the Midlands. So to see everything, yeah, can't be done. Can't be done, I would say. You've got to be very selective.
So how would a visitor plan their visit in advance to make sure they see the objects that they want?
Yeah, I wish people did do this. They'd be less frustrated. But nowadays, it's much, much easier. Previously, you'd either have to ring up or you would look at a guidebook or talk to people who had been. But on the website, it's so comprehensive. You can go on there and look at the galleries, look at the special exhibitions, look at the events on that day. You can even plan things and book things online, and it's just a much, much better way to plan your day, especially if you're coming with kids and if you're coming with a family and judging all of the times and going to other places in London, then that is the thing to do. Most people, unfortunately, still just use the website to find out the directions and the tube lines, but if they delve further through the information, I mean, it's a treasure trove of things on there that can help guide you. And visiting with children, really, it's to look what's on for children and age appropriate and let them guide the visit, because your listeners will all know what it's like to go around when kids have either given up or are bored. It's the end of the visit, really. Mm-hmm. So you have to plan that very carefully, and that includes, I think, lunch and coffees and all those other things, because the museum is an exhausting place to walk around.
The risk of sounding sexist, it's like taking my wife around something like this. She gets bored very quickly, so I have to leave her in the coffee shop.
Well, the risk of also sounding sexist. It's the same with my missus, is that we do exhibitions and we look at things in a very, very different way. And I remember once I went to a stately home and I was still looking at the first exhibit, which was the bugle from the light charge of the Light Brigade. I can't remember where it was now, somewhere in the Midlands. And I was still looking at that, and she'd already found the coffee shop. And I was like, she came to get me, and I was like, I haven't even seen the rest of the exhibition yet. So yeah, you've got to account for the different ways that people take information in.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved. MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
To listen to the show again or to find out the other shows we have on the station, please visit www.seclosounds.org.
Step into the spotlight with me, Lucy, every Wednesday between 6 and 7 p.m. on Seclo Sounds. I'll have new music, the latest entertainment news, and interviews with local bands. If you're in a band, or if you have music that you think I should be playing, I'd love to hear from you. Email me, lucy@seclosounds.org, and join me every Wednesday from 6 till 7 for Spotlight on Seclo Sounds.
Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Welcome back to the John Guinn Travel Show. This week it's the Science Museum, As I mentioned at the beginning,